Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed my last interview. And if you missed the episode and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on my YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. If you'd like to receive notifications on when my podcasts have been uploaded, please like and subscribe. Today's show will be a little different as I've reached 250 episodes. I've decided each time that I've aired another 50, I will look back at guest interviews and reflect on some of the information that I found interesting, helpful, and impactful. I hope you enjoy my look back episode. The first guest I want to highlight is Kelly Falardeau on the topic, Ugly is Always Beautiful. She has been burned when she was young and told she would not be able to be a speaker as she didn't have anything interesting to share. In this clip, she discusses there may be obstacles, but you don't want to stop pursuing your dreams and to have a mentor assist you to reach them.
Somebody saw something in you that you didn't even see in yourself and encouraged you to go forward. And I think we all need that as entrepreneurs. I think sometimes we doubt ourselves, especially if we're stepping out of our comfort zone. So I love that you're encouraged, first of all, just to tell your story and to realize that stories are inspirational. You know, I've heard the comment before, your mess is your message, right? A lot of people have heard that. And so a lot of people, I think, would really gravitate to your story because it makes sense to them, right? And they can see themselves, even if they're not a burn victim per se. It's, I've had struggles and I need to overcome them, so I love that part of your story. So I would love for you then to even talk about, as somebody who has a story, maybe they're starting to recognize it now, just listening to you, like, yes, I have something I want to share. How do they even go about getting on a stage or putting it into a story that they can share in a book? Like, what are the tips that you have to share with the entrepreneur who's listening today?
Oh my God. One of the biggest tips is to not quit. Right? So many times we want to quit when things aren't going well. And I find that sometimes your obstacles are not to challenge you to see how high you're going to go, but it's like, this is the wrong direction. You need to go this direction. Mm-hmm. So I believe that a lot of times it's just too easy to quit. And that we need to keep going after our dreams and our goals. The other thing is to get a mentor involved. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when, he's not my husband anymore, but when I was married, and when I told him I wanted to be a speaker, he said to me, well, who's going to listen to you? Mm. Right. And he was telling me, well, speakers don't make any money and, you don't have much of a story and you're not successful. Why would anybody want to listen to you? And at that time, I understand it because we were in a really rough spot of my life mm-hmm. when we were, going through all this. But then what happened was I got on stage and I was like, it was amazing. Like the feeling I had was just absolutely incredible. And so I ended up talking to this guy on Facebook and his name is Jack. And so I was telling him how amazing I felt when I did it. And I've never had this feeling before in any other job that I did. And he said, Kelly, that's your passion. Mm-hmm. That's your core. The core desire. You have to do it. Like, just find a way. Don't listen to the people who are telling you you can't do it. Listen to us. Like, get a mentor that's in the speaking world who can help you. And so I really believe that the second thing is to get a mentor or mm-hmm. a champion or a coach, someone that's going to like lead you along the way. And it makes sense to have somebody that's in your business. For example, you don't want to have your accountant teaching you how to be a speaker or how to write a book because they don't know how to do it. right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to get somebody that's doing what you want to do. And people love being asked to be mentors. They love
Mm-hmm.
it, right?
That's so
And
true.
so those are a couple of the tips that I want to share with entrepreneurs.
My next clip is my interview with Gary Rogers on the topic Build a Six-Figure Business with Nothing But a Simple Webcam. We know video is important to get exposure for our businesses, and many may feel overwhelmed thinking there's a lot of equipment needed. Gary lets you know you can get started with just a simple camera and your computer. In this clip, he explains what type of equipment to use when starting.
What other tips would you share for the listener who is thinking like, yes, I really want to grow my business, grow my income, share my, wealth of ideas with the world, but I'm not sure how to really do that. Like, what would you say to get started?
Well, I just held this up. This is the most powerful promotional tool, sales tool, and training tool I've ever seen in my life. I spent most of my life in the television production motion picture industry. There's nothing that can touch this. If you had told me years ago when I had my production company that I could sit here and talk to anybody in the world with a camera and a laptop or a desktop, I thought you were on. You needed professional help. That it was impossible in my day, but today you can do it. But you really need to know what you're doing. That's what I teach in my business. I've directed a lot of Hollywood stars in my career, including Academy Award winning actor Charlton Heston. And I tell everybody, if I can direct Moses, I'm not going to have any problem directing you using your webcam. It need direction, if you will. This is something that most people haven't had any formal experience or training on. And that's what I do in my career, teaching people how to literally build a business using a webcam. If you've got expertise, knowledge, or experience in a particular field, literally anybody can become a coach using that knowledge, training, or experience that you have with a webcam. The best way to teach people is interactive, where you can talk to them, they can ask questions, you can ask questions. Best way to train anybody or teach anybody with a simple webcam.
Third is Hector Santiesteban on the benefits podcasting can have for your business. Did you know that a podcast can help almost any type of business? In this clip, Hector discusses that podcasting isn't going away and it can help you connect with customers.
So the first thing I want to ask you though is what businesses really should have a podcast? Because some people may be thinking, well, my business doesn't really fit podcasting. And some, obviously, it's a great fit. So I would love for you just to touch on that question.
Yeah, I think any business could benefit from podcasting. Podcasting as a medium, I don't think is going away. The radio has been such a big part of advertising for so long. And I don't think that people are fully dealing with all of the ways that people advertise on the radio, and in a lot of ways it's a very similar transition to podcasting, but in a lot of ways it's very different. But in any case, I don't think that it's going to be around, and so it's not something that you have to do, but it's something that you could do or you could pursue. A lot of businesses really like the idea of being able to tell their own story and get their brand out there and get their own message out there, and podcasts is a great way to do it. I mean, the great example is this one, Candy, is for you is an opportunity for you to bring your personality into what may otherwise be a rather kind of dry, maybe I'm overstepping and talking about your industry, but you're able to inject your personality into it and bring a face and bring, more than anything, a personality, a character, someone to relate to and create a connection to. And that, you used to have to pay a lot of money. You used to have to pay a celebrity to be able to endorse you to do that. But now you can, whether it's telling the stories, we have one client that they're a service-based company, and they bring a lot of their employees onto the show to both highlight their knowledge and give tips, but also share some of the people that are working behind the scenes and making some of these campaigns go for the clients. And so it's a great way to bring a lot of the faces to what otherwise would just be kind of behind the scenes, stuff. And so that's a great kind of opportunity. I think that a lot of people they miss out on the connection that people can have through podcasting too. So if you're looking for a way to deepen that connection with customers or leads or clients, podcasting is great because people will sit there for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour, multiple hours, and just be there with your brand. And so in any of those instances, I know those are kind of broad, but those are great things that podcasts can do that in a TikTok-ish kind of world are otherwise kind of hard to find.
Elaine Starling discussed the abundance journey, and in this clip, she talks about how you have a choice and the two extremes that exist.
It's really interesting. You have the superpower of choice. You get to choose. You often think that the world is just forcing things on you, but it's not really. It's providing contrast, trying to get you to make a choice. Now, the first choice is about your intention. That's how you want to feel in the present moment and how you want your clients to feel. So I like to look at the extremes because it's always easier to see when it's clearly black or clearly white. So on one extreme is that desire to be right. I mean, especially as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you're consulting and coaching your clients. You're trying to guide them where they want to go. And so you want to feel like you have the definitive answer for them to help them get where they want to go. I just hold that thought for a moment. Okay. So the need to be right is at one extreme. The other extreme is the need to be receptive, to let in all the information from your clients about all their frustrations, all their fears, all their anxieties, all their needs, all their priorities, all their evaluation criteria. And when you let all of that in without focusing on what you offer and how you think about things, it's almost like somebody's dealing you a whole bunch of cards and you're in the middle of a card game. And all of a sudden you've got all these different cards that you can choose from. So you can play your hand however you want. The options are so unlimited when you're open to let your client show up however they need to show up. Because honestly, helping your clients feel heard and understood and valued, and like you can provide a solution that really meets their needs. I mean, once you understand where they're coming from, you're much more likely to be able to make a connection saying, oh, here's how what I do really addresses those concerns you just mentioned, right? That's totally different from showing up and saying, I've got this rubber stamp here. I'm going to force you to fit my mold. Right. It's not very appealing. Nobody really wants to get stamped.
Next is a conversation with Steve Buzagani, who discussed showing gratitude and being consistent with your connections to build trust.
How someone can actually have those meaningful conversations without coming across as I'm only doing this because in the long run, I want to get something from you, and how can they actually work on developing those relationships, and even touch on like, how did you even know to send like a gift ahead of time to promote that like opportunity to have that conversation? Because otherwise, if it's just kind of out of the blue, some people might think like, well, they're going to think that's weird.
What can I do to break the ice or melt the ice entirely? Because for me, it was difficult. And I obviously didn't want to come off that in that disingenuine way. You have to give in order to get. And if you can give and provide value, and if you do it long enough and consistently, the consistency is what's going to build the trust. And people don't do business with anyone that they don't trust. So that's where you get the trust factor comes in, is when you do it over and over and over, you show up every week, every month, whatever your plan is. And for me, when I was doing real estate, I was showing up on the 1st of the month with a piece of mail, a 15th of the month with an email, and then once a quarter with a gift. And then every 6 months, it was a client appreciation event. So like everything was on a calendar, and everything happened consistently, and everyone could count on me to do these things all the time. And it was like, oh, he's very good at this. And I did it like that for like 8 years. So it was like very consistent. It was like, oh, we know he's going to be there. So it was a natural referral type of thing. It was like, oh, we know where Steve is. And I was always top of mind because it was like every 2 weeks or so, you're going to hear from me. And I was writing personal notes too, by the way. I forgot to mention that too. So that personal notes, writing 10 of them a week. So they were always showing up sprinkled in there as well. So that builds the trust factor. And then the gift giving kind of fills in the gaps where when I wasn't in touch with them, because the gifts I gave them weren't like things you threw away. They were things that got kept, the things that got used, or things that got hung up or seen visibly all the time, or things that were talked about when family and friends will come over. So that made me become top of mind. It was also kind of almost, and this was unintentional, but it became almost like an advertisement for what I do. It was like when I give pictures of people's houses that are watercolor paintings of their houses on the day they buy their home.
Nice.
Yeah. So like they hang that up. And they're like, wow, that's a really cool picture of your new house. Like, who gave it to you? I'm like, oh, our real estate agent's like, wow, my real estate agent just gave me a bottle of champagne. Like, whatever. We just chugged that and we were done with it. So like mine thing, it's like kind of an advertisement almost. My personal notes, I had written notes to my attorney many times, my accountant. They kept those notes and they kept them on their desk. So when they had, like my attorney had people going through divorces, people who were inheriting properties, people who were just looking to do a 1031 exchange type of purchase. And all the time, I got referrals from him. He just said, yeah, see that personal note on the corner of my desk? That's my realtor. And then they got to read the note I sent the guy. So they know I'm like a nice guy. And my business card was in there too. And that was an easy referral for him. And it was just like, there you go. So that was kind of the thing. Being consistent builds that trust factor there. And the gift giving is kind of more like a top of mind thing.
My final clip is a conversation with my good friend, Nicole Dennison. We became accountability partners back in 2011. On one of our calls, we started talking about my podcast and her watching me grow as I began this chapter in my business. We suddenly realized we should chat about it for an episode. In this clip, you hear some misconceptions that others may have about being an entrepreneur and how having someone who understands what it takes to be successful can be so helpful.
As they were talking to, and they're like, how many of you really don't have somebody who really understands what it's like to be an entrepreneur? Maybe you don't have any family, you don't have any friends, you don't have any associates really that you knew. And that was me. I was like, well, my family supports me, but they don't necessarily understand that, like, I dream about this at night, like I think about all the things. I don't have just a 9-to-5 schedule. I work all the time, or friends, that they were happy I had a business, but they didn't understand everything. And so I think at that point, they're like, how many of you don't have, someone who really understands? And so that's where we connected and said, hey, let's become accountability partners. And you had recently started your business, I remember. So you thought it would be helpful for you as well.
Yeah, I was pretty new in my business. I thought, well, how will this go? And you're right. You're absolutely right. Like when you shift from working in an office every day to working for yourself, it can be a little bit isolating. You want to form that community. You want to, stay fresh. I mean, there's all these ideas. And I think what people don't realize is, like, when they hear, oh, like, you're going to have your own business, that's fantastic. You have all the time in the world. Like, you can go out and you can go out all day and go shopping and, whatever. And we're like, no, I work more than I ever did in my life. And I love my business. So it's keeping me up at 3:00 in the morning, all this stuff. So I think people, family and friends who've never done that have some misconceptions about what it can mean to be a business owner. So it was really refreshing to meet a friend who said, I get it, like, there's a lot to do and it's wonderful. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, but there's a lot to do. So just having somebody to, I think, relate on that level, it's multiple things. It's emotional, it's logistical, it's just being able to talk something through out loud sometimes. And then all of a sudden it cements in and you're like, oh, I'm accountable to that for myself and for you, and to you. So I better do a thing, it's all these parts of that.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed looking back at conversations from a few of my last 50 episodes and that the tips shared can help you in your business. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to send me a message at media@abandp.com. I hope you can join me for my next interview, and remember, you can connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and my website is abandp.com. You can find my show, Biz Help for You, posted on several favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And would you please share my show with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? I'd really appreciate your support. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.